Hi there, I'm Eric Rankin. I'm putting together this video as part of my final presentation for the OMSCS class on educational technology. The project that I worked on this semester I entitled Raise Your Hand. A little background, I've been creating e-learning for a long time, about 20 years, ever since I was out of my undergraduate degree. One of the problems I've always had with e-learning is that if there's a question you have about the learning or there's something you're stuck with, you don't really have a great way of getting an answer, especially if it's commercially available e-learning. It can be hard to decipher what the course author was trying to say. So my idea was to give learners the ability to basically raise their hand, press a button within an online course, pose a question to a subject matter expert, and then get an answer uh, hopefully in near real time. So I'm going to work through an example of how this looks to the learner. What you see on your screen here is just kind of the basic shell of how this works. And so as a learner, pretend this is an online course, and I'm going to click on the raise your hand button. Let's assume that I have a question about the content of this online course. So once I'm there, I don't quite understand how the law works in Maryland. Can you elaborate? And then I put in my email address, submit it. Once that question's submitted, it shows up in my, I don't know if you can see that, shows up on my phone. Now it's using Twilio to do that, so I've written an API that sends the message to Twilio using PHP, and then Twilio converts that to a SMS message that makes it to my phone. For now I'm the subject matter expert. So if I reply to this message real briefly, yes, I can. Give me a call and I'll walk you through it. So once I send that message, then within the course itself, first of all, you can probably see in my email, I do get an email reply to this. So you can see over here that I got an email reply. And then once the course detects that it's gotten an answer, you'll see that the message or the raise your hand button turns yellow. And so when I click on that, I see my question and answer, and that's all been handled via SMS. So here's an example of this functionality built into an existing course. And by the way, this tool that I'm using is called Articulate Storyline. It's one of the most popular authoring tools for creating e-learning out there. And so all my JavaScript calls to my API are handled within Articulate Storyline. It allows you to inject JavaScript into your course. So here's an example of a course. And I'm just kind of going through and learning about blackjack. And say I have a question, so I have the ability here to pose a question to a subject matter expert, but I also have the ability to view FAQs. So if I click on that, it'll bring up a list of questions that a subject matter expert has already answered and that subject matter expert is deemed appropriate for other people to view. So hopefully as more and more questions get asked, more and more FAQs get generated, and less times a student actually needs to pose a question, and hopefully they get their question answered through the FAQs. So if I close this, I'll show you how the administrative function works there. So here I am then at the administrative login for an SME to go in and have the ability to edit questions and answers or make questions an FAQ. If I log in here, you'll see I have a whole set of bogus questions in here already. But here is the question that I just posed. This number over here is a unique identifier from the LMS. So that's how I'm able to kind of track who asked a question and make sure that I return the answer to the proper person. And if I went in here, I already marked it as an FAQ. This is a second take. But once I mark this as an FAQ, if I go back to my course, I can go in here and see that, yes, indeed, here is the question as an FAQ. So a little bit about the technology. My course uses JavaScript to connect to my API, which is built with PHP, and I've got a MySQL database. So basically, once I ask a question, it, with every screen refresh, pings the database to see if it's been answered. And if it has, it returns that answer in a JSON file. From my API, it heads out to Twilio using their helper library, and that handles the round-trip SMS transaction. So a little bit about what I'd like to do in the future. Right now it's just set up for one SME, which would be problematic, I imagine. Ultimately, I'd like to get to the point where I could have multiple SMEs and set up some functionality whereby they can say what hours they're available, things like that. There's a few other things I'd like to do to improve the project that I just kind of ran out of time for. Some of you might know what that's like. But happy with what I accomplished, and it's something that I've been thinking about for a while, so I appreciated the chance to have the time to put it together. That's it. Sorry if I was kind of quiet. I've got a sleeping baby in the next room. Bye.